How are you lovely Atlas-infected zombies doing today? My name is John and welcome to a beautiful episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. In this series, I take your questions about the zombie storyline and I answer them. Whether it's a big, a small, or a simple question, I'm more than happy to answer it. So please do leave your questions down below. Maybe I'll see it and maybe I'll answer it. You may even be in the next episode. If you want, you can submit your questions two ways. The first way, leave them down in the comments below. Another thing you could do is tweet me at JohnnyJ25, and Twitter is one of the best ways to get in touch with me. So while you're at it, why not follow me on Twitter? That'd be pretty sweet. Without further ado though, let's begin with the episode. We're gonna kick things off with a question from Cobra Gaming, who asks, how did Oz turn into that monster type zombie? So when Oz was shot in the head by Captain Lennox, what that did was sort of trigger his inner zombie. It killed him, but then it also sort of awokened him as the zombie that he really was. And we sort of start to see him change more and more into a zombie as the story continues. And we actually see it on the walls of Carrier. It mentions that his zombification is 76% complete. And then he doesn't really hit that full stage of 100% zombified until we get to Descent and we face him off in that final boss battle when we go up against the ginormous Oz. So that entire time leading up, he is becoming more and more zombified until he finally hits that full 100%, and then he is this ginormous monster that needs to be killed. So that's what happens to Oz. That's how he turned into this giant monster type zombie. Once he got shot in the head, he slowly began the transition from Oz, a regular human, into Oz the Beast, the guy we have to kill to end Descent and end the Exo Zombie storyline. Moving on, we have a question from Van Man's Movie, who asks, hey John, I was wondering, with the Descent outro and how they killed Oz, how is Oz still narrating? See, that's a very good question, and the thing is, you have brought to the surface one of the biggest plot holes in the Exo Zombie storyline. Unfortunately, they didn't quite design the story very well, and there are quite a few plot holes. Most notably, if Oz is dead, how is he narrating the story? And the only explanation I can really give you is that Oz is the one telling the story, but in a way, Oz is also detached from the story. So he is the main character, and he is telling his story from when he was just a mild-mannered janitor at Atlas all the way to the beast that we have to destroy in order to end Exo Zombie. So this is his story, and maybe he's telling his story from the dead. And that could be possible. There's been stories that have been told this way. You find out the main character, the one who's been narrating the story, has been dead the whole time. We've seen it countless times in movies and novels. But now we have this problem where there are hundreds of Oz clones, and it begs the question, which Oz is telling the story? And considering he's still telling the story while we see that one of the clones has awoken, what does this really mean? And it's hard to say for sure. All I would say right now is that Oz is telling the story, but he's almost telling the story from the dead. He's telling the story after all the events have ended. I know I said in the past that Oz can't be dead because he's narrating the story, and while that made sense, now that we see he is dead, this just kind of throws a wrench into everything we understand, and there isn't much of an explanation at the moment. Maybe, though, Sledgehammer will provide one down the line. We're gonna end today's episode with a question from Zombie_Gamer115, who asks, where do you think Exo Zombie's characters are going to do in the next COD? So we won't see these characters roll around again until Advanced Warfare 2 or whatever Sledgehammer decides to name their next title. And it'll probably be a continuation of the Exo Zombie storyline where we have this Oz awakening and maybe Atlas unleashes him again, or who knows, many different things could happen. However, these characters already have their story kind of concluded. In the outro, he mentions that Lennox has been promoted, Khan is now suing Atlas, Decker got a job within Sentinel, and Lilith has become a hacktivist. So their stories have been told, their stories have played out. Now what may happen is once the new Oz arises, Lennox will reassemble the team and they'll defeat him again. Or we may get a new set of characters. It's hard to say for sure. Sledgehammer has 3 years to develop this story, and there are many different routes that they could take. At the moment, though, what becomes of our characters is what is mentioned at the end of the outro to Descent. With that, we're going to conclude this week's episode of the Zombie Storyline Q&A. If you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a like, possibly subscribe. I upload multiple episodes every week, and if you enjoyed this one, I'm sure you'll love the next one. You can leave your questions down below, or you can tweet me with them at JohnnyJ25. And while you're there, maybe follow me on Twitter. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with me. I'm gonna go though, have a fantastic day, and bye.